do it.
All right. Well, hey guys, welcome to the Punching Preacher Show. Easy for me to say. And I want to just start by introducing you to Geoffrey Graff, my friend and my pastor.
What's up?
And Geoff is he is the pastor of Overflow Church, Northwest Arkansas. He is also the author of this book we're going to be talking about, Don't Waste the Weight, and which is an awesome book. I encourage you to get it. You can find it on anything, Amazon,
Barnes and Noble.
I got mine. Yeah, I got mine on Amazon. Yep. So, he has been married to his wife Eden for 7.5 years. Yep. College sweethearts. They just had their first baby, Jack. And he's what, 6 months now?
He's 7.
7 months old.
Fast, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I know. Crazy.
Yeah. How good? How's that going? Are you sleeping?
It's getting better every day. Yeah. Started rough, but we're getting there.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, yeah. So I just wanted to talk about, of course, what brought you to Northwest Arkansas from Texas. Mm-hmm. Where in Texas you're from? Mm-hmm. Just fill us in.
Yeah. So Victoria, Texas. Probably never heard of it. It's Houston area. Kind of, it's like an hour, 45 minutes away from Houston.
Yeah.
And I was at a church down there that my dad pastored, actually.
Yeah.
And for whatever the reason, I just felt a call to like build something from the ground up. And it was intimidating. Like, what in the world? I'm going to go somewhere I don't know anybody. But, you know, Eden and I prayed and we felt like it's what God asked us to do. So we said, all right. And I had this list of cities on my phone that I was like, maybe I'll go here and plant a church. Maybe here, maybe here, maybe here. Fayetteville wasn't even on the list.
Yeah.
It wasn't even an option. But I was in Tulsa. And I was going to go to Dallas, and my friend was like, why are you going to Dallas? Like, you've been to Dallas, you know what it's like. He's like, go to Fayetteville. Yeah. Went to Fayetteville, probably 2021, and just fell in love with it. Yeah. And I just, when I think Arkansas, right, all I knew about Arkansas was Jonesboro. Yeah. Because that's where Eden's family's from. Oh, that's right. And Jonesboro is like... way different than Northwest Arkansas. No shade to Jonesboro, but it's just a way different vibe and everything. Still very agricultural over there, actually. Yeah. And industrial even. So. Yeah. But then I came here, it's like there's mountains and it's nature, and then I saw like the Hog Stadium. I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. And so anyway, I thought I would leave, but it never left. And my mom always prayed whatever city that I went, I would just love the city. Yeah. And I think if you're going to pastor somewhere, it's important you love that city. Yeah. And so I just was like, you know what? It's smaller than I thought, than the city I thought I would plant, but I just love it. Yeah. And so I just moved here and started Overflow. Yeah. So now we talked about this before, but you had mentioned that you were probably going to move up to a different position in your dad's church. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, they were kind of starting conversations about me taking over that church, and it was a huge church, thousands and thousands of people, and you know, Eden also had a medical practice there, which was very good. It was very lucrative practice, like everything. I always told people like we would have been in our 30s living like we were in our 50s. You know what I mean? Sure. Very comfortable. Very comfortable. Yeah. But unfortunately, Jesus doesn't always care about our comfortability. Yeah, right. And so we moved. But man, we were actually just talking yesterday. We were driving and trying to get Jack to fall asleep. And she was like, I'm just so happy we're here. And I said the same thing. Like, I'm just so happy we're here. I mean, it's so fun. I mean, you're part of the church. So like what God is building at Overflow is fun. The community that's coming together is fun. Doing something from the ground up there's just a weird freshness to it. Sure. And then also like I live in one of my favorite cities in the world. And like I don't take that for granted because I love the people of Victoria, Texas, but there wasn't always a lot to do there. You know, it's just different. And so, you know, it's cool journey. Well, and we're very central, actually. I mean, you can get to anywhere pretty quick from Northwest Arkansas. If you want to fly out of XNA, you can fly. I mean, you know, we go to Puerto Rico every year. I can get to Puerto Rico in the same day. You know, I can leave in the morning and get there the same. Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. But Puerto Rico's not as far as you would think from Florida. You just fly to Florida and. That's fair. But and then you probably have friends still in the Tulsa area. You went to school. Yeah, I went to Oral Roberts University, and I got a ton of friends there. I guess as we get older, kind of moving around a bit, but Tulsa, I was actually in Tulsa Monday. Yeah. Because Eden's family, most of her family still lives in Tulsa.
Oh, really?
Well,
Okay.
it's
I
split.
know
Half is in
her
Jonesboro.
dad still drives over here every week.
Yeah.
That's
They
impressive.
got a little condo now.
Oh, okay.
Which is
Yeah,
good. Finally,
yeah.
that gas money's adding up.
Yeah.
But yeah. So her dad's side of the family's in Jonesboro, but mom's side's all in Tulsa.
Yeah.
And so we go to Tulsa probably at least once every other month at the minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's an easy town to get around too. If you get lost, just keep turning right. It's just a big grid.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's 100% right. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me this. So when you decided to not stay on at your dad's church and move away, because you're the youngest.
I'm the youngest.
Yeah. So you're the baby, and we're going to move to another state. And how did your parents take that?
I think they were used to me leaving, because when I was 18, I left to Oklahoma, and then they thought I was going to move back after college. I moved to Los Angeles, so I got even further from there.
Yeah.
But this time it was a bit different, because I think they thought, all right, your schooling's done.
Yeah.
You're going to stay here.
You're going to settle.
Give us grandkids.
Settle in, I mean.
Yeah. Give us grandkids, and and they were proud of me. But they're my parents. They were sad we were leaving, My mom still all the time will jokingly guilt trip me. I don't see that baby as much as I should. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
So I think they're proud of me for following what God called me to do. But I think they definitely at the same time, it's that tension, It's it's good for you, bad for me type thing.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. Well, I remember when we first met. It's been a little less than a year ago. Do you remember when was the event?
PB&J. That's where I met you.
Yeah.
Because I remember exactly where we were.
I was thinking that was probably around March. Maybe.
It was a good memory. It was March.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. And so I was thinking. So a little less than a year. I've known you, and then not long after that, we went to Mojitos just to get to know each other and talk about the church. And I was the church is a huge blessing to me because I had like we talked about before come out of a 4-year relationship where it was just in and out. Mm-hmm. I ruined my mental health through that and made things so difficult that my ex-girlfriend wanted me to leave the church that I'd come up in because she was there. Her kids were go to Shiloh and all this, and so I left the church where I was licensed to ministry. I was actually licensed to ministry by senior pastor Ronnie Floyd.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, okay. And so I came up through that whole ministry and system, and everyone I know is there, and then that was a very public embarrassment for me, and I've lost a lot of friends from that. But I don't hold grudges about it though, because I did what I did, messed up that whole thing, and
some point
it's like, you know what, we're good. You go do your thing, and
you can't let it define you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I did. And so I was, for several months, I was just, there's a Pentecostal church here in tiny town I was visiting pretty regularly, but every other week I was at my mom's house. I would just get out of town. If I didn't have Ethan, I would go to Evening Shade. She lives in Evening Shade, Arkansas. It's about 3.5 hours from here. Okay. And so I would work from her house. She owns the company I work for. And then I would go to church with them, and which was nice. And then I would do honeydew stuff, around the house for her and my stepdad. And so that was just a good. It was good for me. But then whenever I was back here with Ethan, I was like, I need to go to church, and so I would try to find something here, and I was just wasn't connecting like I felt like I needed to. And then we met, and I think I talked about that. I was like, I just want to make sure that I'm right for you, and not just you guys be right for me.
That was the only time anybody had ever said that to me.
Really?
And I was like, interesting.
Yeah. Well, cool. And that tells you a lot about where my head was at the time, because I felt like I'm probably not good for you. Is what I was really. You may not want me around, and but I needed that, and I needed that, like we were talking before we started the podcast. I needed to go from being a worship leader or a preacher or an evangelist and being a face, because I didn't handle that type of ministry well, because I just wasn't relationally, emotionally, spiritually mature enough. Yeah. I was gifted. My spiritual gift primarily is teaching.
Okay.
But I'm gifted in that. I can explain the scriptures and everything, but there's a lot more than just one thing in ministry, you know,
absolutely.
And you know more than anybody. I mean, you're chief cook and bottle washer and
all of it.
Yeah, do all of it. And so so getting to meet you and getting hooked up with the church, and then whenever we started having like the seeker services or whatever,
the pre-launch services.
Yeah, exactly. Those were good because I got to get busy and started meeting people.
Yeah.
And I'm still meeting people every Sunday. I'm meeting people that have been there a little while now, and I'm like, oh well, I haven't met you, so yeah.
We got even first time guests.
Yeah.
Come every week. I'm like, where'd you come from?
Yeah, definitely. Well, and we and then every week, so I'm in a group text with my family, and I will I'll be like, man, we got 200. I think we had 200 people.
Yeah.
This past Sunday, you know, in a little school in South Fayetteville, and but every week I'm seeing, and I'm sure you're seeing even more than me, people are getting saved.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah.
And you know, there are a lot of churches out there that may go all year and no baptism, no rededication, no nothing.
Yeah.
And so it's a real blessing to be involved in a church that stuff is happening. What has been your biggest blessing so far just with starting Overflow Church?
The team that has come. Because because you're one of them, there might be 200 something people that come on a Sunday, but there are 50 people that make sure everything can happen.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest, there's one side that's like, okay, convince people to come to a service. But the other side is like, convince people that don't know you, that don't trust you yet, that don't, all of that. Convince them to help you. Yeah. Like actually put their hand to it. And that was scary because, man, at my old church, man, I had so much favor, so much... just so many people that loved me. They knew I loved them. They trusted me. And it was like, well, I got to start from scratch. Yeah. So to see the amount of people on our team that are like, man, we're here. Let's do this thing. Yeah. That's the biggest blessing because it doesn't happen without those people. Yeah. You take those people away. Yeah. As you know, ain't no one coming for the Geoffrey Graff show. You know, we're coming for what Jesus is doing, and he's doing it through all of us. So the biggest blessing is the team. Yeah. I've worried about, there have been a couple Sundays I just couldn't be there because I was traveling or whatever. Yeah. And I've thought, who's going to put the chairs up? Yeah, no, I think that too. I'm like, oh no, this isn't good. I'm sure that's covered, but you know, I'm worried about it. You know, so I appreciate you worrying about it. Yeah, and that's good too because I'm able. I don't have to travel as much now, and so I can be here every Sunday, and so I've really enjoyed that. So you moved your family to Northwest Arkansas. You've been here how long now? A year and a half. So we moved November of 24. Is that right? Yeah. So a year and a couple months. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's it was, you know, it's a weird feeling. I sat on my back porch and there's like some trees that it looks at. And when we moved there were no trees there were no leaves on the trees. Oh yeah. And so I was sitting on my back porch about maybe 2-3 weeks ago and there were no leaves again. And I told Eden, I was like, think about how much has happened in our life. Since we got here. Since the last time we looked at these trees with no leaves. We had a kid. I wrote this book. Yeah. We were just like, I wonder if we'll have a team. Now we have a church of like 200 something people and a team that's amazing. Yeah. And it's like, man, God's been so good this last year. Yeah. So but it has flown by. Yeah. I just feel like when you said I've almost met you for a year, that kind of blows my mind. Because I remember meeting you and I was like, what's up, man? Like, what do you do? And you're like, well, I was a fighter. I was like, what in the world? Like, I didn't expect to hear that. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So time flies, but it's been good. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, and a lot of good stuff happening. That does bring us to the book. So I was actually reading maybe yesterday about you went to speak at Oral Roberts, and the "Don't Waste the Wait" message was what God was putting on your heart. Yeah. And that kind of led to the book and everything. So how? Tell me about that. How long had you been thinking about writing a book? Had you been thinking about writing a book? How did that transpire? I've always wanted to write a book. Since college, I wanted to be a published author. That's been a goal. So what's funny is they called me to preach at ORU, and I had a whole different message prepared. And I was in Afton, Oklahoma, in a research parking lot. And it was just like God just dropped "Don't Waste the Wait" in my heart. And now this was just a message. It wasn't a book. It was a sermon I preached. Yeah. Like 2-3 years earlier to the youth I read, and man, they were like so bored. I was like, man, I messed that up.
We're waiting for this to be over.
Yeah, 100% right there.
Yeah.
I feel like you're wasting my time.
Yeah,
right now,
that's
Pastor.
funny.
So anyway, I was like, Lord, I really thought the message was good, but they didn't. So I was like,
Yeah.
Anyway, he just wouldn't let it out of my heart. So I was like, all right, I'll preach it to ORU. And it made sense. Like, I was like, this would be a good college message, right? So I bring it to the college kids, and it just was like, at that time, one of the best messages, most well-received messages I'd ever preached, probably. And so there's a publisher out there.
Yeah.
Funny enough, you know Josh on our team? Josh Loffelmacher?
Yeah.
It's his dad.
Okay.
Random.
All right. Yeah. Well, somebody was talking about, there's another guy that works for him at the church. I can't remember that guy's name. I just met him Sunday.
Okay,
anyway.
cool. Anyway.
He's been around a little bit, and I'm just now meeting him, but yeah.
He approached me like, do you want to make this a book? And it was easy for me to turn the one message into a whole book, because it was like, well, this kind of has been, I would say up to this point in my life, this has kind of been my like heart message. It's like, I've known what I wanted to do since I was 17.
Yeah.
And it's been 14 years since I actually planted the church. But it was like a very, by the grace of God, I would say a very purposeful 14 years.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the idea for the book, is like, man, there's a lot of people that they want to be something, but you don't just wake up and be that. So how do I conduct myself in the time of waiting from where I am to where I want to be?
Yeah. That brings up something I was reading in the book about, and I dog-eared several pages, so I can't remember which one that was on. But you were talking about, clothes and being the baby, and you get all the hand-me-downs, but you'll grow into it. You'll grow into it. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, man, I'm the oldest, so I didn't have to worry about
Of how many?
growing it. Four. I had a brother that we lost really young, and
I'm sorry.
that's okay. So it was me, my two brothers, and my sister.
Okay.
And so I still have my other brother, of course, and my sister.
Yeah.
And of course, my brother got all the hand-me-downs, and I was thinking about you'll grow into it. And for the most part, you do.
Yeah.
If you're healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, and the difference in that and growing into the spiritual person you've been created to be, or the husband or father, is that you choose whether or not to do that.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing, only if you're healthy.
Yeah. That's kind of that whole premise I was talking about, how you'll grow into it. I was talking about how James, making me turn my memory back on how the book of James, he says, grow because your endurance has a
tribulation worketh patience, kind of.
Yes. And it was basically like that word endurance. Were you there when I preached this message about the word endurance, that he's saying this is what will grow? It's a word that means to stand under. Yeah. So it's like very similar, like if you get on a squat rack, right?
Yeah, right.
The only way you grow is if you remain under it.
Yeah.
And say, okay, I'm not just going to try to get away from this. But when you're unhealthy, a lot of times what you do is you don't remain under the pressure. You avoid it, you cast blame, you whatever, you do whatever you can.
You get mad at your trainer or God or whoever. Why are you putting all this on me?
Yes, exactly. And it's like, well, you're not going to grow that way. You're not going to grow that way the same way you wouldn't grow if you just kept rolling the weight off your shoulders every time you tried to do squats, know? And so it's just a very different way of looking at all the pressure that's on you. Yeah. And all the things, good or bad, that you have on your plate. And it's like, all right, well, you will grow if you choose to do it the right way.
Yeah. Definitely. So talk about that then. When you'll grow into it. Often we want to, like you said, we want to just start and be in whatever the position we want, or whatever part of life that we see ourselves, or how we want to identify ourselves as. And oftentimes those aren't, just like David's couldn't wear. Wearing Saul's gear wasn't God's path for him. Yeah. And how do you see that happening in people's lives, that we try to, and I talk about like wearing masks. We're trying to wear the wrong clothes. We're trying to be and I've done that. Fighting actually was that for me. That was a mask for me. That was the punching preacher was a whole identity, because I was running from trouble at home.
Yeah.
Really. And fighting was more running than anything for me. And so, so how do you see that in people's lives, and what do you see to be the greatest need for people in that?
I think people underestimate how authentic they can be with God.
Yeah.
How authentic, whether it's what they're going through or just like the way that they're made. Like, God, you didn't, maybe you have a dad and his skill sets are totally different than yours. It's like, well, he didn't make me that way.
Yeah.
One of the things I love the most in the Bible is the story of Jacob. When Jacob gets blessed by his dad, he tricks him. You know that story? Yeah. And his dad says, "Who are you?" And he says, "I'm Esau." And he gets this blessing trying to be someone else. And this blessing sends him on the run for like, I might be wrong, I think it's like 40 some years or something. Yeah. He's on the run. Then he wrestles with that angel. And the angel only asks him one question. He says, "What's your name?" And he gives him a chance to stop running. He gives him a chance. Because the last time he was asked that, he says, "I'm Esau."
Yeah.
And he finally gives him a chance. He said, "You want to get blessed? What's your name?" And finally says, "I'm Jacob," which means I'm the deceiver, I'm the heel grabber, I'm Jacob. And he blesses him. Yeah. And so it's this idea that,
and gave him a new name.
Yeah. But the idea is that God can't bless who you pretend to be. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I think so many times people are pretending to be one way, and it's like, no, like whether it's David wearing Saul's armor or and that's like a skill set thing, or it's like more so of a pain and a hurt, like you're pretending to be okay, but really fighting's just a way for you to escape all the pain at home. It's like, just bring your authentic self to God, and he'll bless it, and he'll help you figure out who you are, how you navigate forward. But I think we spend so much time wasted in waiting periods because we're acting as someone else, acting inauthentic to who we really are.
One of my life verses this year has been James 5:16, I think, 16 or 17. And like we were talking about before, I've done some stuff that is completely embarrassing stuff that I'm willing to say out loud that, I creeped on my extra. I did. And the reason I'm willing to say those things out loud is because James 5:16 says, "Confess your sins one to another, so that you may be healed." Yep. And there's something about the hiding of the sin, or hiding of the identity, or there's something about that keeps us from being healthy. So,
man, it's like that saying, "You're only as sick as your secrets." You know what I mean?
Good word, yeah.
And it's like, it's interesting because the devil would love for you to think, oh, as soon as people know this, they're going to hate you.
Yeah.
But the truth is, if you're around true Christians, they're going to help you up. They're going to bear each other's burdens. They're going to completely neutralize all the threats that in your mind, oh, they're going to say this about me. They're going to, and some people will. But
like you said, that's not your identity.
No.
Whatever they say is not your identity.
No,
they don't define you. Yeah.
Actually, Paul, it's one of my favorite verses. It's in Galatians. He says, if you see somebody who gets caught up in sin, he says, you who are spiritual should help restore them. And he has two adjectives, gently and humbly. Yeah. It's like, if you want to know how to receive somebody when they confess their sin, confess that they messed up. If you're spiritual, Paul would say, okay, this is how you know if they're spiritual. Do they do it gently? And they do it humbly. And when you can confess your sin to somebody and they receive you gently and humbly, it's a game changer. Yeah. You feel a weight lifted off you. Yeah. You're reminded that is not your identity. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I've been both the confessor and the confessee. Yeah. I don't know if that made sense, but the one who's confessed to and the one who's confessing. And I've seen it both ways. I've seen it be a burden off my shoulders, and I've seen it be a burden off shoulders of people who confess. And then I'm like, I'm not mad at you. Like, God's not mad at you. He's proud of you for obeying his word and confessing. Let's get up and move on. And it's like, oh, thank God I can breathe, Yeah,
definitely.
It's a good feeling.
Well, and just like in the Gospels, where it talks about if you bring your gift to the altar, but you have a problem with your brother, go fix that. Yeah. Fix that. And I think also when people are willing to confess their sins out loud and to say, look, I had this struggle, like I talk real openly about alcoholism and how, I would start drinking tequila at like 10 in the morning. Yeah. just straight tequila, not margaritas, just straight tequila.
Yeah.
And I would drink all through the day, and then I would even schedule my drinking around my calendar. Okay, I have a meeting at this time, so I need to cut back, and and I thought I was fooling everybody, but being willing to say it out loud and say, it was that bad.
Yeah.
But I was able to, walk away from that completely. And in fact, next month, February 20th, I'll have been sober from alcohol for 4 years.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So very proud of that.
Yeah.
And, but I was sober from alcohol, but I wasn't sober from the problems that led to that.
Yeah.
So I had to learn the hard way that there's still things that I needed to work on.
Alcohol was the fruit, not the root. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I remember like going to Celebrate Recovery. There was the guys will go around and everybody introduces themselves. I don't know if you've been to a CR meeting, but I'm Wes and I struggle with alcoholism, sexual integrity,
all of it.
All the things. And each guy will go around and tell what he struggles with. And there was a group of 12 of us in this 12-step program, and a guy confessed some stuff that not just borderline illegal, they were illegal things.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I
was like, oh wow, like I was, like wow, we just got very real. But that freed me up.
Yeah.
To be able to just talk about my stuff.
Yeah.
You're just hearing somebody else say, man, I've had these struggles. These are, to be real about it.
Yeah.
Freed up, in fact, it freed up everybody. And that was one of the best, we did that for over a year, went through the 12 steps there. And that was one of the best things I've ever done in my life. Just to be able to see other grown men ride in on a Harley and sit there and cry about, stuff that had happened to them when they were kids, stuff like that.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So you confess to God for forgiveness, but you confess to people for healing.
Isn't that crazy?
If you read the scriptures.
Yeah.
James doesn't say confess to one another so that you be forgiven.
Yeah.
So you be healed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a healing aspect to it. And it's weird, but like when you go through those sessions and you're crying and you're with all these people. My brother used to say this, and I think it's good. He says, when you cry in that context, it's almost like you take a bath on the inside. Like you get done,
that's
but
a good
inside
word.
You just feel so good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's always stuck with me. And I've led so many like youth camps where that's kind of the vibe. Like kids are just crying, talking to each other, praying for each other, and they leave so joyful. They leave so light. They leave.
You know what? Years ago, I heard a great message from John Maxwell.
Okay.
He was actually speaking at the Southern Baptist Convention.
Okay.
I had this on a cassette tape. In fact, I wore that tape out. I would listen to it over and over.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how, as he was coming up in ministry, he was obviously gifted as a communicator. And so everything he was doing and everything was cult of personality. Mm-hmm. And he began to realize that he preached a funeral, and as he was preaching the funeral, he realized he had visited the guy in the hospital and everything, never once asked him where he was with Jesus. Just did very pastoral things and pastoral prayer. Yeah. And he said that broke his heart when I don't know. And I could have just asked.
That's interesting.
And he quoted the guy who started the Salvation Army. I can't remember his name, but they asked him, they said, what's the key to revival? What's the key to revival? Is it prayer? What's the key to revival? And he said, try tears.
Man.
Those who sow
in tears
will reap with glad shouting, so. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, very powerful stuff.
That's
anyway,
interesting.
Yeah.
That's a cool take.
Yeah, and of course I've been a John Maxwell fan for years, but that was just real impressive and that was very honest of him to admit.
Yeah, 100%.
Here I was growing this big church out in, what it was, Skyline Wesleyan, I can't remember what his church was, and but I just wasn't obedient.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah,
but you mentioned your brother. Ever since now that I've read most of the book, I every time you mention your brother, I think of Magic Mike now. So
yeah, man, that's funny. He'd always do magic tricks.
Yeah,
that wasn't really his name. I like to poke fun at my brother a lot.
Yeah, well, sure.
He spent so many
older
years.
brother. And all that,
I was the butt of the jokes, and I was the runt. So But now it's like, all right, I can poke fun back.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'll do it in writing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the book a little bit.
Yeah.
And I hope you don't mind if I bring this up.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so I did not. So we met, and then we went to lunch, and we were talking. I remember at that lunch, I remember you talking about, I come from a long line of pastors and preachers. My dad's a pastor, my mom's family, and but you didn't go into any detail about it, and I didn't ask. But you did say that that there were some big churches down there.
Yeah.
And so, but I didn't think anything more about it. And frankly, you're not running a cult of personality. You are preaching the Word of God, and if you want to hear about Jesus, come on,
Yeah.
And so I started reading the book, and I just opened it up to the very first thing here on endorsements, talking about wasting the weight, and you definitely need to read this book by my nephew, and then by Joel Osteen. And I stopped. I said,
hold on.
What? And I read it. I read it 3 times to make sure I was understanding correctly. Anyway, and then I called my mom. I said, Mom. And here's the thing. So like I said, every Sunday I'm texting my family. Say, hey, we had 3 get saved today. We had 2 get saved today. It looked like we had 5 get saved today. And I said, Mommy, I said, this church I've been going to where I'm seeing God move and everything. And I said, let me read this endorsement from Jeff's book. And she goes, are you kidding me? I said, no. I said, yeah. And then I went down Monday. My stepfather's actually in the hospital and in the VA, and he's struggling. He's got some breathing or swallowing problems, and he's got a heart problem. So we're getting some answers on that tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I went down to see him and see my mom down there, and then we went over to my brother's, had dinner. My mom's best friend and her husband came over, and they are all members of the same church. My church that I used to associate pastor at, and anyway, I was telling them all this story. They were like, "No way!" I said, "No, seriously, way." Yeah. So my mom, I remember, had Your Best Life Now on her. Yeah, she had that on her in her living room. I mean, that was she'd always picking it up and reading it. So that's kind of amazing. And but just because I know a little bit about Lakewood Church, was not actually started by Joel.
No.
It was started by your grandfather.
My grandfather, yeah.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about that.
That story's crazy, honestly, because my grandfather was a Baptist preacher for a long time.
Yeah.
And then he got, as he would call it, like filled with the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Speaking in tongues, all this stuff, and he didn't know what to do because he was a Baptist preacher.
Yeah.
And so one day he was literally trying to preach.
Can't go to the association meeting and talk about that much.
Yeah. Not going to be in good company. And so he basically told the church, like, I can't in good conscience keep pastoring here. So he started Lakewood in a tiny feed store.
Oh, really?
It was in animals, like feed store, just maybe 100, 150 people.
Yeah.
Very similar to how we started Overflow, actually.
Really?
And so it's the same size and whatnot. And he pastored it for a while. And then he actually left it for maybe 6 or 7 years. A lot of people don't know this.
Yeah.
He left it for maybe 6 or 7 years. And he went and he was a missionary in India for a long time.
Yeah.
Came back. That the pastor who was pastoring it kind of got into some trouble. So he came back, and that's not the reason he came back. It just happened to be at the same time. Came back, started pastoring it again. And again, it was for years, I think 200, 300, 400 people. It was never that big of a church.
Yeah.
And then for whatever the reason, it just exploded. And it became, Lakewood Church that it is. Well, not quite what it is today, but it was probably 8,000 to 10,000 people. It was a lot of people.
Wow, yeah.
And then
it's not a small church.
It's not small, no. And then he passed away, I believe in 99. And then my uncle took it, and my uncle had never preached before.
Yeah.
He actually.
Oh, really? See, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So my uncle was the cameraman, and he produced all of the shows. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
He's obviously gifted.
Right. Yeah. So my grandfather basically kind of on his deathbed was like, Joel, just I know you can preach, just preach once. And so he preached that Sunday, and he never quit preaching from that Sunday on.
Yeah. Wow. And his brother, your other uncle, Paul, he serves. Does he not serve?
Yeah. So he has deep Arkansas roots.
Oh, really?
Yes. He is a medical surgeon. So he always felt a call to medicine.
Yeah.
And so he practiced in Little Rock for over a decade.
Really?
Yeah. I will run into people frequently, probably 3 times since I've lived here.
Really?
Who know him because he had operated on them or one of their family members.
Yeah.
And so he was a very respected surgeon in Little Rock. But then when my grandfather died, he felt God tell him, leave your practice and go help your brother. So now he actually runs, it's incredible. They do this they go to the middle of somewhere in Africa, I can't remember, but where there's no sort of help for medicinal help.
Yeah.
And he'll just operate. Lakewood has built like a little center there, like a surgery center.
Yeah.
And they'll just operate on the village people for free.
Yeah.
And just love on them and help them. And he goes every year to Africa for like 4 or 5 months.
Really?
I actually, one of these days, I want to like take some people from the church who'd want to go and go
absolutely.
help. I think it'd be fun.
Oh yeah.
And Eden as well, because he told Eden like she's a PA.
Right.
It's like we need help, like medical help. So if you ever come, like I'm putting you to work.
Yeah.
You pretty much
Yeah. We were talking before we got started about how I used to be in ministry and I was married at the time and my ex-wife and I weren't always on the same page, but she's a nurse, and she got to go to Brazil on a medical mission trip once, and the whole medical missions was just doing medical missions. And while we got you here, let's talk about Jesus, and that was life changing for her. Actually, it changed the way she viewed even church, and all that. But it's very difficult when you go to a third world country or another, a poorer area where it's just all about the gospel, and then come back to America where it's not always just all about the gospel, and there's so much. What's the word I'm looking for? Corporate church, if you will, I guess, and it's good. I like to hear you tell these stories though about Lakewood and the stuff they're doing, because I think a lot of people misunderstand and think that it's all just about the money and it's all about.
It probably really is one of the most misunderstood churches. It's sad. I get it.
Cross Church gets the same thing, man.
Yeah,
all the time.
But what's interesting, and people, I don't know if they just don't believe this or whatever, but like my uncle hasn't taken a salary from the church.
Yeah. Since
he wrote Your Best Life Now.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I'm almost. I know it's been like over a long time. He doesn't.
That book's been around 20 years, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe not that long, but it's been well over a decade. He doesn't even take any money from the church.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if he wanted to retire and just be an author, he could be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like he's just selling books, and he's like, why would I take from the church? I sell books. I do fine. I don't. Yeah. And that church does a lot.
And he could probably travel and speak more and make a ridiculous amount of money.
But he doesn't.
It's not where his heart is. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Well, and I've met your mom, and your mom and dad are both super sweet people, by the way. They are really. And I was actually gone. I was back home to Evening Shade the week that your
my
father
dad preached,
so I didn't get to hear that message. I should go back and watch it. It's on YouTube, I'm sure.
It's good, yeah.
Yeah. But I haven't got to see that yet. But yeah, I mean, just very, very down to earth.
Yeah, man, they modeled ministry so well for me and my siblings.
Yeah. They
just really did. And my mom, it's funny. I had this realization one time where I was like, wait, my mom went to Humble High, and it was like a Super 5A public school in Humble, Houston area.
Texas, yeah.
And that's a huge school. Like, that is a huge school. And every single year of high school, she was like prom queen.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I had this realization like when I was in high school, I was like, wait, you were cool. Like, you were really cool. What in the world?
Yeah.
But the reason that really for both of my parents, because my dad was a stud athlete. He's a D1 athlete. He's just really good. But they really love people very genuinely.
Yeah.
And so they're really awesome people in their own right. But when you're with them, you don't really think about them. They just make you feel loved and cared for. And so, I'm very thankful for the house I grew up in, the family I come from, both my nuclear family and extended family with the Osteens and all that.
Right.
And then even my dad's family, nobody would know who they are, but they're some of the most genuine people in the world.
Yeah, you're in a good place. And then, of course, like Eden's dad and mom, they're super sweet also, and he's a worker. Like he's always on it. He's making,
Always. He's smart too. Like, I don't know if people realize he's like a PhD professor. Did you know that? He's a professor.
Yeah, and I knew that he also, actually, where I have my Bible degree, that's where he went to school. He went to
Wichita
Williams.
Baptist?
No, he went to Williams first.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then he pastored over there outside of Jonesboro. Yeah.
Yeah, I did know he pastored.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know he went there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're incredible people too. So anyway, but yeah, that family connection's funny, and I don't really talk about it. It's like not.
Yeah.
Like, why would I? I wouldn't. It's not.
Yeah.
If someone asks me, I'll be honest about it. But it's kind of weird to.
Yeah.
You know, be like, oh, that's.
Hey, guess who I know? You know.
Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna do that. You
Yeah.
know, it's funny because I don't have the same last name.
Yeah.
But it very much is my uncle. And people are like, wait, like your actual uncle? And I'm like, yes, my dad's brother.
Yeah.
I mean, it's my mom's brother. And they're like, oh.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah.
So,
Small world.
well, and I was telling you about the girl that I've been seeing, and
Yeah.
I said something to her last night about. I said, have I told you about the book? She goes, well, no, I saw your video where you were talking about. You know, you're gonna, and I was going through the thing, and whenever I told her who it was, she goes, I was hoping that's what you would say. I was hoping you would say it. So, because she said that for a long time when she was not ready to, she's a single mom, and had gone through a divorce and all that, and she just wasn't. She didn't feel. She wasn't ready to go to church.
Yeah.
You know, and so he was her pastor. You know, on not online but on TV. You know.
Yeah.
And so got her through some really tough.
Well, it's
tough
weird,
times.
man, how many stories like that I hear from people.
Yeah.
Eden and I were flying. I can't remember. Oh, we were taking a really big trip. It's the biggest trip we ever took. We were going to Greece. And she had finished her master's, I had finished my master's. We were like, we're done, let's celebrate.
Yeah.
And so we were going to Greece, and we flew out of Houston, and the flight attendant was from New Zealand, and she was talking to the lady in front of me, and she was like, do you go to Joel Osteen's church here? And the lady was like, no. She's like, man. She's like, I was an atheist, but I got saved hearing him preach on the TV, and I watch him every week now, and I wanted to go so badly just to tell him thank you. Yeah. And like I said, I never tell anybody, like, oh, that's my uncle. But I heard that, and I'm like, man, like I feel bad. So I was like, hey, listen, you're not gonna believe me, but that's my uncle. And if you want, we can take a video, and I'll send it to him. And she like freaked out.
That's a huge blessing to people.
She's like,
though.
oh my God. She was funny. She like she came back. And she brought us like a full-size bottle of champagne. She's like, hey. It's like, all right.
Yeah,
well,
thanks. Yeah.
I guess I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah,
They're
when in
gonna take
Greece.
They'll take it at customs. But appreciate
right.
it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Very cool. Well, it's just an interesting. It also gives you an interesting view on ministry that a lot of other people just haven't had the opportunity. But just growing up in it, and like what was your grandfather like? Like you talked a little bit about him in the book.
Man, he was awesome. So actually, one of the reasons I named the church Overflow is because of him.
Okay.
So I've never really been taught how to preach ever.
Yeah.
I started preaching before my parents knew. I didn't tell them I was preaching. I didn't want them to know. I was trying to do it in secret because there was like a lot of pressure in my family,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Yeah. And so I was just kind of going. But my mom would always say, she would say, your grandfather always used to say, you know what? You just need to put God's word really deep in your heart, know what you're talking about. And then when you get out and you go preach, you just talk from the overflow. And so that was like really the only preaching advice I knew.
Really?
Was like just whatever I'm preaching about, I'm going to study it a lot. I'm going to pray over a lot. I'm going to know it so well that it's just like I have enough for overflow. Yeah. And so anyway, it was kind of a dual meaning because the vision statement of our church is we exist to help people overflow with love, joy, and hope through Jesus. And that's what I want for people, just to be so full that way. But personally, it had some sentimentality to it because that's kind of how I try to preach. Is like, I'm going to know this so well. If you cut me, I bleed it, Yeah. And that's because of him. And he was fiery. He was funny. He'd be the type that would be like, my grandmother told me this story once, and she just passed away, but she was alive until, I think, July or something like that. But, she was driving him to church, and he saw this billboard, and he just was really like inspired by the billboard, I guess. So he grabbed a napkin and scribbled down like a few thoughts on the napkin on the way to church on Sunday. And he just took that napkin up And she said he preached one of the most eloquent sermons I've ever heard
Off
in
that
my
napkin.
life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But that's just kind of how he was. Like, he had the word of God so much in him that he was like, I'm just going to go speak out of the overflow.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
that's kind of what I'm
Well, there's so much
trying to
scripture
do.
behind that, from the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks, you know, and then, I'll hear people say, I just don't have my joy anymore.
Yeah.
Well, in his presence
It's
is fullness of joy, you know, so
yeah.
get in the presence of God,
Yeah,
you know, and so
absolutely.
from that, I mean, if you don't have anything to give,
Yeah.
then go to the giver. You know, and I think we wear ourselves out that way also because we try to manufacture godliness or good works even, and instead of just letting, like you said, letting that flow out. So tell me, when you say don't waste the weight, define the weight. What is the weight?
Yeah, the weight is, I think that's why I like this book. The weight is so vague and it can apply to anybody.
Right.
Because everybody's waiting for something, I think.
Yeah.
But the key is, and you were talking about this a little bit, but the key is to not live like you're waiting. The key is to live in the present.
Yeah.
That's really, wait is kind of an acronym I use throughout the book. The W stands for watch, the A stands for act, the I stands for improve, and the T stands for trust.
Yeah.
And so it's like, while I'm waiting for, you name it, to be married one day, to get a job after college, to get a promotion at this job, to get from this job that doesn't even seem related to what I actually want to do to what I want to do, whatever it is, while I'm waiting, there's still something for you to do.
Yeah.
And it's basically just a book that makes people take responsibility for the here and now.
Yeah.
Because right now I can watch for opportunities that I have, even if they're not ones I want. I can act, like I can do something. We walk by faith. We don't sit, we don't lay, we walk by faith. We improve, meaning like, okay, whatever you feel like God called you to do, get better at it.
Yeah.
And then trust. In other words, while you're watching, acting, and improving, trust that God is moving the pieces and can get you where you need to be at the right time, in the right way. And that's so much of it. So the wait is that period where you're just trusting God. I need you to come through. But it's like, how do you trust? You watch, act, and improve, you know?
Yeah.
And then in doing so, you're trusting and you're not wasting the wait. So that's the whole thing.
I really think that a lot of times where we as individuals mess up is we miss the W.
Yeah.
We don't watch. We don't pray. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't take the time to just, okay, Lord, speak to me.
Yeah.
We go straight to the A. Mm-hmm. And we're like, okay, I've got to act. I've got to do something.
Yeah.
You know, like I was talking about, I would lay in bed at 2 a.m, crazy anxiety, feeling like I need to do something. And so I'd get out and take off like an idiot, in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I need to move. I need to act on something where I could have been just praying with that time. I could have been saying, Lord, speak to me. Yeah. Show me what's going on with me here. Yeah. And then he eventually did, and I had to actually be, slammed into a wall to get my attention, like, oh man, and I think a lot of times also when we're improving and acting and improving, we're wanting it to all be about us still, instead of like you said in the book, it's often about someone else. It's about, what are you doing, to serve, like even David, serving the sheep, or even serving Saul, musically, and he's growing into kingship, doing very menial things, and I think that we when we think of a king, we think of, crown and all this, but we don't think about there's so many little things that that you have to be concerned with, and I think that we're not always concerned about the little things.
Yes, 100%. That was actually another book I almost wrote called "It's the Little Things."
Yeah,
and it was all about that.
Yeah,
and it's just because you don't see, and it's hard to understand how God uses all these little things to help you actually step into the big thing that you're worried about.
Yeah.
Right? So like David, the big thing was, I'm called to be a king, and I knew it.
Yeah.
He had no idea that the little thing of defending his sheep from lions and bears was going to help him fight Goliath one day.
Right.
He had no idea any of that. But it's like, no, just take those little things seriously, and little things add up.
Yeah, definitely.
But you know that from fighting. Anytime you try to lose or gain weight, it's It's like, well, just be in a surplus of this or a deficit calorie-wise of this. And I remember being like a calorie surplus of X amount of time or this much, something not even that much, like 250. You're telling me over a year I'm going to gain this much weight? And it's like, yeah. It's like, well, a little bit adds up. Yeah. It's same the other way too.
Yeah.
So it's true in life. It's true with our experiences. It's the little things.
Yeah. Well, and then, and just like I was talking about, I went from fighting at 170 pounds all the way down to fighting at 145.
Yeah.
But at 145, 3 rounds was a lot because I didn't have the energy at one. I didn't have as many carbs. I didn't have as much stored fat, almost no stored fat. And so I was actually a better fighter when I was fighting heavier, and when I was eating, and I was joking with the guy that I did the podcast with last week. He's a fighter. He's actually fighting Friday night on Prime.
Cool.
Yeah, he's out of Bangkok, Thailand, and we both have the same coach, MMA coach. And so, but I was talking about when I first started fighting amateur, I would cut weight, make weight, and then I would go to the store and I would buy donuts and Pop-Tarts and Oreos and all the stuff I'd been craving that I hadn't been eating, which is horrible fuel for a fight the next day, Right. Like, why do I feel so awful the next day? So I was eating a bunch of...
That's funny.
But those little things make a difference also, not drinking enough water makes a difference, and those sort of things. I think we don't realize how much when we're short of the things we need, how badly we really need them. I would be cutting weight, and sometimes I'd cut 11, 12 pounds of water weight in one day. So you're just sweating it out.
Jeez.
And and so I would have my ex-wife, my daughter, my mom, anybody say, hey, send me pictures of drinks. And they would send me beverage photos, and I was like a kid, like, look at that, it's like, I remember my daughter one time, she sent me, it was a picture of lemonade, and you could see the sweat on that. I was like, I would lick the sweat off that. It was just terrible. So because I was needing, I was so in such a deficit. That
your body's smart. Your body knows what you need.
Right.
It's weird like that. But what's funny is that's very true of time in God's presence too, though. A little bit adds up. You're like, I just don't have time to pray or read my Bible. It's like, you'd be amazed at what 30 minutes a day would do for you.
And what we'll do is we'll need something. Our body will need something. Our spirit will need something. And then what we will do, instead of feeding it in a healthy way, we will try to feed it something that's not.
Oreos and
Pop-Tarts. Exactly. Oreos, Pop-Tarts, powdered donuts. Or relationally, same thing. We'll try and feed that in a sinful way, or a hurtful way, or a toxic way, just to get fed in that way. And that's what we were talking about before, just being able to do little things and be present. Like I was saying, I used to preach. I used to do all these ministry things, and now I'm just serving the Lord where I am, and I'm putting up chairs, I'm moving tables, I'm ushering and helping with security and all that, and I'm loving that. And to be honest, it's not nearly as much responsibility as as pastoring or that sort of thing, but it's helping me to be faithful where I am. And instead of, like you said in the book, instead of using it as a stepping stone, it's just the journey I'm on right now, and it's part of
it's a training ground, not a stepping stone.
Definitely.
I think that's a huge, if people could see that, like, no, wherever you're at, it's a training ground. David did not think the pasture was a training ground for being a king. You know what I mean? But it is, because God is so creative. He can make any experience tie into what you do, and where he has you. So anyway, it's cool.
Good stuff. Well, let me read a couple of things, and I just wanted you to elaborate on them a little bit. Like right here on, I think this is chapter 1, where it says how we watch and the weight. And it says, we examine how to keep our eyes open for the opportunities we have, even if they're not the opportunities we want.
Yes.
And so elaborate on that a little bit. Well, how do you see that happening in people's lives?
I think this was just very practical from pastoring people so much. Like I remember there was a girl that really wanted to start I think it was a podcast, and she worked at AT&T, and she's like, this is not related at all, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but I was like, but you do have somewhat of an opportunity to talk to people all throughout the day. Most people don't have that. Like you're talking to people all throughout the day. I was like, you can just like talk to them about their lives while they're waiting for their phone to get set up, and you can start getting information that you want. Like what actually interests the common person,
right?
You know, about and she's like, I've never really thought about it that way. And then she ended up like getting all these good customer reviews because they're like, oh, she's so friendly and all this
she's
stuff.
actually talking to people, actually communicating.
And it's like, that's a silly example, but it's just like there's always more opportunity than you think there is. You just have to open your eyes to it. And I think in that part I talk about when I worked at a grocery store. Yeah. Right? I had a degree in biblical literature. I was getting my master's of divinity, and I was bagging groceries, and it's like, what am I doing? But I learned a lot about leadership there. Yeah. Honestly, not from a good experience, but from a bad one. Yeah. But instead of rolling my eyes, I was keeping them open and being like, all right, what can I learn? And so I just think if that W in weight watch, it's just so important because that's where it all starts. Yeah.
I think when I read that, I was thinking about how we often we get frustrated because we're not getting like you said in the book what we want. Mm-hmm. And one of my verses that's spoken to me so much this year is Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on Wes's own understanding. Yeah. And the importance of that to me is, actually, I posted something today. You know, the thinking you have got you here. That's good. Yeah, and so I think Kevin Humphreys was the guy that said that. The thinking, but the thinking that got me divorced, the thinking that got me jobs that I lost, the thinking that got me relationships that went sour, that got me an alcoholic. You know, that thinking
is what got you there.
And so it's quit. So maybe my understanding isn't really what I need, you know. So trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. And he said, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. But one the version that says make your path straight. Yeah. Well, you and I both know that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Mm-hmm. So the shortest distance to God's will for your life
that's good.
Is up to him. He knows. So what we do is we're doing all this other trying to find our way, and then he's like, if you just ask me, I'll tell you, it's right there. Yeah. You know,
this could go a lot quicker if you follow me.
So when I was reading that, that's what I was thinking about. I was like, man, that is so in my face really right now. You know,
that's really good.
Like because my understanding would, you know, I poured too much of my life into things that God wasn't in. Yeah. And instead of saying, God, is this you? Mm-hmm. I was just saying, God, just bless this. Yeah. Just bless this. Why don't you love me? You blessed him. Mm-hmm. He's living my dream. Why aren't you giving me? You know. And I think a lot of times we want what we want without even thinking, why do we want it? Yeah. You know, why is that important to me? You know. 100%. And you know, I was very when I got out of my marriage, it took me a little while, but it finally settled in to me that you failed at that. Like I had to just own that, my part of it. And I wasn't the only one in the marriage. But I'm not going to speak for her. I'm just going to speak for me.
That's all you can do.
I could have done way better. Yeah. And so whenever I got in my next real serious relationship, I needed to prove to me, I needed her to validate me that no, I'm not this horrible man that was married to my ex-wife. I'm this great guy now that paints houses and I'll paint your house, I'll do your floor, I'll take out the trash, I'll cook for the kids. I just need you to validate me in that, which is completely unfair to her. And so it's kind of like I went so far with one way, now I'm going so hard the other way, love bombing and all this, you know, instead of just saying, Lord, just heal me. Just heal me, you know. And honestly, like we were talking about earlier, James 5:16, just saying that out loud is confession, you know. You know what? Those were all me doing it with my understanding.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
So anyway, so I've learned a couple things.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So anyway, what's your favorite story in the book?
My favorite. Ooh, that's a good question. Let me think.
There's a lot of great stories in there. Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite story that actually has a point. Like, I mean, the one about my brother being Magic Mike is hilarious.
Yeah, that's funny.
But I don't know if that actually has a point. I'll tell you this. I'll just do this because it's a shout out to my grandfather up in heaven. But I think one of my favorite stories is the one where I talk about, it's old, you've probably heard it. It's not original to me. But it's the story about the guy walking on a tightrope between two skyscrapers. Have you read that one yet?
No.
You haven't,
because
it's in the last few.
Okay, yeah.
It's in the trust
I got like 3 or 4
section.
chapters left, yeah.
So there's a guy walking on a tightrope between two skyscrapers, and obviously he accumulates a crowd because they're like, look at this, is crazy. Like, what's going on? So he starts playing to the crowd, and he's like, you know, how many of you guys think I could do this with my eyes closed? Yeah, they cheer, and he does it. How many of y'all think I could do it walking backwards? Yeah, they cheer, and he does it. Then he grabs a wheelbarrow. He's like, how many of y'all think I could do it with a wheelbarrow? And they're all like, yeah, and he does it. Finally, he's like, how many of you think I could do it with somebody in the wheelbarrow? And they're freaking out. They're like, this is crazy. And so they're like, yeah, we believe you can do it. And he's like, all right, get in.
Right.
And nobody does.
Yeah.
And my point in the book is my grandfather used to tell that story. But the point is, if you really believe God, if you really trust God, you don't just scream about it. You get in. Yeah. You do what he tells you to do.
That's good
like
stuff.
You either believe, and I think we just have so many Christians that are screaming about what God could do in their life.
Yeah.
Not a lot that are actually trusting him. Actually, that word, commit to the Lord whatever you do, that word means to roll all of your weight onto him, which is interesting. But it kind of gives the good wheelbarrow analogy.
Yeah.
Put all your weight in the wheelbarrow if you really mean it. You know what I mean? If you really mean it, then get in. And so I think that one is good because it even convicts me. I'm like, do you really believe, when I planted the church, you really believe God's a provider?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, then go. You know?
And things are going great with the church, and people have new people every week.
Yeah,
and
it's awesome.
Next week,
community groups?
Community groups.
It starts the week of the 25th. So.
Okay, next week. Yeah, and so all that sort of thing is happening, but how scary was it to start?
Oh, it's still scary. Yeah. It's still scary. But it was way more scary to start. The first interest party was one of the most scary things ever. Yeah. Because I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to show up to this. And then even like as we got closer to the launch date, people that told me they were in really weren't. Yeah. So I was like, who's really with us as we're starting this? Yeah. A lot of people, just didn't for whatever the reasons. Honestly, probably most of just them trying to figure things out, and that's okay. Sure. Yeah. And then after that, the first week that we opened was horrifying. Yeah. I had no idea, is anybody going to show up? Yeah. And now, like, it's still scary, but it's just a different scary. Yeah. I do feel like we're kind of finally developing, like, a core of our church. Like, okay, these are the people that really love this church. Like, they call this church home. These people, I don't know. They're just checking it out, and that's okay, you know? Yeah. But that, man, you talk about, that was the scariest thing I ever did in my life. Yeah. Well, and I remember when the first time you and I sat down and had lunch, I remember saying, you're going to face some challenges starting a church in Fayetteville. Yeah. We're in the Bible Belt, but Fayetteville's like a buckle. I don't know. It's something different going on, and it's a very eclectic and you've had some challenges from that. For sure. You've experienced a little bit of bullying online and dumb stuff. Yeah, we've had people write to us, and we've had people try to, get us kicked out of the school. We've had people send really ugly things to me and my wife. Like, that are just like random. It's like, okay, well, that was mean. Like, there's no point in that, but thank you for your opinion.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of laugh at them. I don't really take it to heart. But yeah, but you know, because I've grown up in ministry, I'm used to it.
It's not something you haven't seen before. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you talk about, you know, just seeing everybody's always going to have something good and bad to say.
Yeah.
And you get to pick which one you listen to.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the one you listen to isn't even here.
Well, and we've had some great stories. Like, was it this past Sunday you talked about a new member of the church that was very anti-Christianity?
An atheist.
Yeah, an atheist. And then something.
Yep, clicked. And then 2 weeks before that, had someone tell me they were agnostic, didn't believe, but had been coming since like the second or third week.
Yeah.
And again, over holiday, they just realized, were you there when I talked to the team about this? They said, I finally realized that human beings need a God, and I just realized I was being my own God.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and he said, I fully placed my faith in Jesus. And so like real conversions of people that like, it's not like they were just like, oh, I grew up in church, but I fell away. That's still good. I still like reaching those people too. But these are people like, I didn't grow up in church. I didn't care about God. We had someone in our church also that had never stepped foot in a church, period.
Really?
Ever, till about a month ago.
Wow.
And she just came after the service just crying. And she was like, I don't really know what this is, but I know that I feel peace when I'm here.
Yeah.
And so she gave her life to Jesus, and
wow.
She actually just joined the Dream Team last week.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's really cool stuff that God's doing, and it's like, well, no wonder he told us to come here.
Yeah.
Like, there's already so many lives that are changed by the gospel, and so many lives that are just enriched by like a new, fresh community.
Yeah. Well, and of course, God can do whatever he wants to do.
Right.
But I think there's also something to be said about there are people that do not feel comfortable going to a brick and mortar building with a big steeple and a cross, you know, and you know, like I come up in Cross Church with 3 huge crosses. There are people that intimidates, but they would walk into school because their kids go there anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They had lunch with their kid there Friday. We should go Sunday. You know? And so there's people that can be reached because it's still very non-traditional.
Yeah, 100%.
And tell me what you think about this, but I would think our hope would be to always be non-traditional. Not that there's anything wrong with tradition, but that we're always open to what is the Spirit of God doing?
Yeah. So
how is He moving?
My dad used to quote another pastor. I don't know who it was, but he would say, "You marry the mission, but you date the model," in the sense of, the only thing I'm married to is the mission that Jesus left us.
Yeah.
But the way that the Holy Spirit wants to do that might look different in different seasons, and we're going to do our best to stay attentive to that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I think if you're still doing church the way people were doing it in the 80s, you probably don't have much of a church anymore, because sometimes we get so caught up on the model, not the mission. It's like, hey, the Holy Spirit does different things in different seasons, and it's our job to kind of be attentive enough to that, keep the main thing, but say, like, Lord, how do you wish this to be expressed in this season? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think about a story of back in my home church, back home, way before I served there in ministry, and after I'd already grown up and moved away. They had brought on a youth pastor that was a young married guy, had young kids, and he had kind of come from a rough background, and he did auto body, and his dad was a mechanic, and just, you know, that whole, and he would just go to the school and have lunch with the kids, invite them to church and all this. And so he was bringing all these kids that were totally unchurched. Their parents weren't coming or anything, and they were wearing whatever kids were wearing at that time. And the story I was told was that one of the deacons went up to a kid that had his pants hanging down and said, "Hey, don't come to church dressed like that." So the kid didn't.
He didn't come to church.
Never came back, you know. And that's sad that we get so hung up, like you said, on the form. Like, we expect people to dress like us. We expect people to even think like us, you know. And people come from so many different backgrounds.
Yeah,
And,
it's like you really think that would be Jesus' main concern right now?
yeah.
Like if someone, even like people like, there's somebody on our
belt.
team. Yeah. There's somebody on our team, and I won't name them, but they left. Sometimes when people tell me they have church hurt, I'm like, all right, let's see if it's legitimate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes it really is, and sometimes it's like, I feel like, they were just holding you accountable, or they were whatever.
Yeah.
But this person literally, they got kicked out of their church from being an usher because they didn't wear a tie. And then the pastor, this wasn't related to the tie, but the pastor basically said that their granddaughter was cursed and was going to hell, like for sure.
Wow.
And I was like, what in the world? But the fact of telling somebody they couldn't be somewhere because they didn't have a tie on. I'm like, if Jesus was here, you genuinely think that's what his
concern would be.
like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? So it's sad, but at the same time, it's just, to your point, you never know what people's expectation of church and what they're coming from is.
Yeah.
Because there's so many stories like that. You're like, oh, okay, never mind,
Yeah, definitely.
So, anyway.
And everyone has something.
Yeah,
I
100%.
mean, and no church is perfect because it's full of imperfect people. And so we're always going to have something. I've been hurt at church, and I've hurt people at church.
Yeah, same.
And so I think we need to have grace with ourselves.
Yeah.
And grace with each other, obviously.
Yes.
So if you could say anything to someone that's in Northwest Arkansas and they're looking for a church, or they're thinking about a church, or why should they come to Overflow Church?
Man, I'm going to look at the camera in case they actually do. I would say, first of all, there's a couple reasons. One, it's new, so you're not going to feel like an outsider.
Yeah.
That's kind of a cool thing to be like, oh, there's no like established cliques or anything.
Yeah.
But secondly, I just think that I always tell my team, we're not doing something new because we're doing what's in the Bible. It's old, but we are doing something fresh.
Right.
And if you're like, man, I've tried church, but it just wasn't, didn't feel right or whatever, I would say come try it. God's doing something fresh, and there's so many stories of so many people that are probably just like you with the same hang-ups, same struggles, same questions, and they're finding hope, they're finding joy, they're finding community, and there's no reason that couldn't happen for you too. So come check it out, Sundays at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
It's at John L. Colbert Middle School, but it looks cool. All right, it's not like you don't feel like you're in a middle school.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty new school, actually. I think it's 2-3 years old, maybe.
Yeah, super
like
pretty.
So new building, and we have a lot of really great. I mean, you will not feel like a stranger.
No.
I mean, we have great people greeting, and we always have coffee, or sometimes s'mores, and stuff like that. So very cool, and nobody getting on you if you carry it in the
right.
in the auditorium, so very, very cool. And there was one other thing I was going to ask you, and it left me. I've got to start taking notes. I'm real bad about forgetting what my next thing was, but is there anything else that you want to talk about?
This is good. This is fun.
Yeah.
We talked for over an hour. It was easy.
Easy. Just tell, and we talked for 10 or 15 minutes
before that, right?
About just fighting and all that, and I, that was I wouldn't trade that time for anything. I mean, I learned a lot about myself, having a fighting career, and you learn what'll make you quit.
Man, I could see that.
And you learn what's too much pain, what's too much work, and so it was a good experience for me. And through that though, I met so many people, and I have so many friends, and so and now I'm at the point where like I'm too old to fight. I miss it. Like I would love to fight, but what can I do? And I'm a talker. I like to talk, and I was like, you know what? We'll do this. We'll do the Punch and Preacher show. Yeah. And so just have that avenue, and just see, if God wants to do something with it, great, and if not, great, we'll just have some fun. And but hopefully, and we're going to of course boost this as well, and hopefully get some more people to see. And but man, I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate you.
This is fantastic. This was actually only the second episode.
Yeah.
So the first episode was Chase Mann is a fighter for one championship, and And so, and then I think next week I'm talking to Rodney Holstrom, who is a national officer for Celebrate Recovery. And
that's cool.
He actually lives in Rogers. He runs the CR in Rogers at Fellowship up there. And so he's a super great guy, but he's seen a lot of things.
Yeah, I bet.
So
I bet.
I'm looking forward to talking to him.
That'll be awesome.
About that, yeah. And then, so we've just got a bunch of stuff lined up that I'm excited about. So
cool.
Anyway, man, if you don't mind, do you mind praying?
Not at all.
And we'll close it out.
Heavenly Father, thank you so much, God, just for who you are, for being so good to us. Lord, I thank you for whoever is watching this, listening to this. God, that it would just bless them and that they would take something from this that would help them grow closer to you. God, maybe it's something that's convicting, maybe it's something comforting, but whatever it is, God, let them know that it's in love because you care about them and you're guiding their life. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Last thing before we go,
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask a question. One of the things that I really struggled with as a person was constantly thinking I was worth anything, that I was valuable. And kind of like I talked about before in relationships, I was needing somebody to tell me, no, you're worth it, you're worth it. And without realizing that intrinsically, I had value, I had worth. If somebody's worried about, whether or not they're worth it, what would you tell somebody that's wondering, am I worth it?
Yeah, I would tell them that, first of all, if you're looking for that validation in the world, it's an empty hole that you will never fill. But the worth of anything is determined by what someone's willing to pay for it.
Good word.
You see a house on Zillow, the Zestimate is not what the house is worth.
Yeah.
The house is worth whatever somebody eventually pays for it. And I would just tell you, if you're curious about what somebody would pay for you, Jesus gave his life for you. So clearly you were worth a lot. And nobody on earth can invalidate that or tell you that you're not. So find your validation not in this world, find it in him, and you'll be surprised at how it changes you differently in this world.
Good word, man. Awesome. Good
Yes, sir.
stuff. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Guys, this is the Punching Preacher Show, and share it with your friends. Make sure and subscribe on YouTube at the Punching Preacher, and we will see you guys next time, and you are worth it. So, peace out.